Gabby, I love you.
Welcome to Interview with the Indies. Thank you so much for your time. I am talking to the Wildkat Revolution champion, Mr. 5K himself, Nate Bradley. How does it feel to have that championship?
Really, really cool. So out of all of the championships that I won, I got to say this is, and I'm saying this, this is kind of like a nuanced thing, but I think that this is actually probably the most special to me because it's my home promotion, right? And I began my training in 2016. And for it to have been it was 2024 when I won this. So an 8-year journey to win my first championship there, it felt very gratifying. And I think the sensation that I get out of that is it took me that long. So I was definitely ready when it was time. It wasn't too long. It wasn't too quick. This is right. Like he's moving into his prime. This is the time to start getting into that peak. So very fulfilling.
I've always wondered, do wrestlers feel powerful when they have these championships?
It's different. Like each, I guess it's just so situational, because you've got some guys and gals come in and they get it so quick, and then you've got some that just never get their hands on it, and everyone has such a different, I guess, like journey with so many different like things that get thrown at them, and everyone's is so different, like just presentation and how you get pushed, how much you have to grind outside to make yourself big enough to look like you can be that guy, and just all of that comes into like such a weird. So everyone is so different that it is probably much more gratifying for some than others.
And you trained at Wildkat?
I did. Okay, so I began my training in October 2016. I was still in college at the time, and I was looking for, because originally I wanted to finish college before I started, but I just got antsy my second year, and I was like, let me just do something. And I was talking to a friend, and he said, why don't you just get your foot in the door? It's like, you don't need to dive crazy headfirst in just yet, but just get your foot in the door and do something now, so that once you've got everything else out the way, you've already got kind of a head start. I'm like, that's a good point. So I started looking, and I found Wildkat. It was in New Orleans, which was about, an hour away, because I was staying in Mandeville, Louisiana at the time. And so I emailed Wildkat, and Luke Hawks answered. And I told him the whole, the rundown. Like, this is my name's Dylan, and this is what I'm looking for. And he said, well, why don't you come in? We'll check you out. And came in, he sat me down in his office, and we sat and we talked. And it was interesting because I didn't know this at the time, but this is something that you find out after, is when Luke was doing, because I don't know how it is now, because I know Luke's not, he's not the owner anymore. He's not doing all of the like the day to day. That's, like Matt and Sammy and some of the others. But when I started, it was very, very Luke. And at the time, Luke was doing essentially like what's the word, like he was interviewing you for it. It was kind of like a tryout when you sat and met with him. It was like, all right, is their head in it for the right reason? Are they interested for the right reason? Is this a waste of my time and energy? Are they actually going to commit to this? Are they just, do they think this is going to be some easy walk in the park? They think I'm about to hand this to them, whatever. He does the whole sit, get to know you, get a gauge on your personality. Then he says, yeah, you're free to train here if you'd like. But that long sit down was really him kind of like getting a read on me, which I didn't know. I was just in there chit chatting about why I wanted to wrestle, which I guess that was the right thing to do. So
And how long was that interview?
I I want to say we spoke for probably an hour, give or take,
Wow.
something like that. I mean, yeah, it felt like a long time. So yeah, probably about an hour, give or take.
All right. So, what made you go to Texas?
In Oh gosh, okay. So there's two things. Is the first, I was offered a pretty decent job, like outside of wrestling, in Texas. I had gone to Texas a couple times to visit and just kind of see like some family and friends and whatever. And I had seen, and I was kind of like scouting there, and like Houston, I mean, the job market is like was like booming. It's still pretty big, but like at the time it was like, I mean, you could like do anything. There's so much opportunity out there by comparison. I'm not saying there's not a lot in New Orleans, but there's definitely a lot in Houston as well. So I'd gone out there for that. And um, after a couple of visits out there, I had gotten in contact with this one company and the work that I was with at the time as well, so that they were going to open a location in Texas eventually. So I had kind of like two openings to get to Texas. And then the actual like wrestling scene in Texas was, I'm not gonna say it's like this massive thing. It was just bigger, you know? And you definitely want to watch out for like what indie companies that you work for, because there's a lot of like like crappy promotions, but just because of the sheer amount of pro wrestling in Texas, like each city has like four companies. It's not like where in Louisiana where it's like you've got Wildkat in New Orleans and then nothing until maybe like Baton Rouge, and then nothing until how wherever. I'm not even sure all the places. When I was over there, I only knew of like Wildcat and then maybe one other. But in Texas, you've got at least four, at least two decent ones in each city. And so it just, if you like, I was thinking, well, if I want to kind of have like a rapid growth, um, really like get my nose to the grindstone and just start like kind of like making me and just break away. And that kind of, it just felt like the right thing to do, to get out there and kind of move away from their umbrella, because Luke and them, they've got your best interest in heart as a trainee there. But at the same time, at the time at least, they were very cautious of what they wanted you to do. They didn't want you to go out and fall on your face. And that's not a good thing or a bad thing. It's take it how you want it. The pros in that is that you're not going to go out there and look stupid. The cons of that is that you're not going to learn how to swim on your own, or at least within reason. I needed to go out and kind of see if I could. And I hit some of those bumps in the road. Like I fell on my face a couple times, but I did pick up, and I had that very rapid learning curve. And they got to see that. And that really helped how Wildcat felt about me. Like, all right, this isn't just that kid that was under our umbrella for a few years training with us. It's like, look, he went out and he's handling himself. He's growing really rapidly, and he's representing the brand really well. He's making us look good. He didn't go out and look like a fool. And that's another thing I know that they worry about. They don't want you to go out and make them look bad. That's every company, everywhere. So there was a lot of things that was kind of pulling me to make that big move and just kind of make that jump, you know.
Seems like that was a great decision because you got to learn in a different way in a different area. So
Met a lot of people, made a lot of connections, and just it was it was so beneficial for my growth that like I wasn't able, because COVID happened, right? Sorry, am I rambling? Is it okay if I just if I
you're good.
okay? Like COVID happened like 3 weeks after I moved out there. It was the most insane timing. So I got out there in February, and then everything shut down in March. No, I'm sorry. I got out there in March. At the very end of March is when they did like total lockdown. So I moved out there March 9th, and then that was it. Like total lockdown everywhere. And so I was like, oh well, this is crazy. But Texas like kind of started opening up quicker than Louisiana did, and it's crazy because it kind of worked to my advantage, because a lot of people just weren't wrestling, and I was so like wrestling crazed. I was like, oh my god, like I moved out here to prove myself, like let me, that I was very quick to jump at any invitation to work out there. So that was like a chance for a new face to emerge. And so I really did take the Texas scene by storm. And legit, I mean, nowadays, if you say Nate Bradley in Texas, everyone goes, oh God, yeah, he rocks. But like, I was absolutely nobody. And I was so eager to jump at it. And the chance to make a name was there, because a lot of people kind of pulled back because of COVID. And they're like, we're just going to ride this out for a while and wait. So a lot of companies had open spots, and that was my chance to come in and show some value. And then by the time I had got my name established and everyone kind of came back, I was already kind of like up, you know. So it really worked out kind of neat. Just, I'm not going to say like COVID worked for me. It was just like a weird situation arose, and I managed to make the most of it. So
Is there any, I don't know, any Texas style in your wrestling?
yeah, it's weird because you know Okay, so every promotion is different, right? As far as like how they train, it's very based on the trainer, where that trainer came from. But there's definitely like a stylistic, at least a little bit, a stylistic difference that you'll find from area to area. And the first thing that I found in Texas is that like those boys play rough. Everyone is just more. I'm not gonna say stiff because I don't like using it. It carries like a negative connotation. Like, oh, he's stiff. He doesn't. It's not like that. They are more snug. It's just they are. They're not necessarily hitting you harder, but everything it stings more, and they are more rough, and that just it is just a product of the area. Because so many of the guys in this area do it, and then this area, and this area, this area. That is kind of like Texas, and like they people joke about Texas strong style. I can tell you, as someone who came from Louisiana, they just are just generally a lot more rough. Now, granted, as long as you're not working with an idiot, that extra roughness isn't killing you. It is just extra rough, and it's just like, oh, wow, like that really stung. Like everything's just a little bit more oomph. Um, I adapted to it pretty rapidly and was able to kind of put my own little spin on it, and like I absorbed it well and adjusted to it. I could tell that that was a thing because when I went back to Louisiana and started working with the Wildcat guys again, I swear to God, they think I was killing them. And I did not mean to, but that was 100% just because when I got out here, I didn't work another Wildcat show for, I think, 3 years. And that was just because, like Luke and them were having so much trouble getting it back going after COVID. It wrecked them, and it tore them up, and they had so much trouble. And then they tried to get a show going at the end of 2020, and they got canceled. Then again in 2021, it got canceled. And then a storm happened, and they were just getting hit with like bad luck after bad luck. And it was so ominous as to whether they were going to like really pull through. But just because they make miracles happen, they did, and they've been rebuilding, and they're getting back up there. And so they finally got me back out there for like a full blown show at the very, very, very end of 2022 when they did the Wildcat NWA like kind of joint show. But that wasn't like a full straight Wildcat show. They got me truly back for, I think, March 2023, when I tagged with like my best friend Chris Cruz, who he's one of the ones who really helped me with like getting my name out here in Texas. And like they were because they watch, and they've still seen me nonstop. We kept in touch, and they've seen Chris and I working together, wrestling against each other and tagging. They're like, hey, why don't you and your boy both come here? So they brought Chris and I, and we worked Buku and Spade, and we tore it up, and we went to the back. Luke goes, that was one of the best wrestling matches I've ever seen live, and I was like, yes, I came back with a vengeance. So, but that stiffness, without a doubt. I know they all thought I was killing them. Oh, I didn't mean to. It was just definitely a product of the environment type thing.
Texas fans or Louisiana fans?
Texas fans. I said it. It's true. I gotta. There. Okay. This is how cool. And I'm not saying that Louisiana fans don't do this, because there's phenomenal. There's like a handful of specific instances I was weighing against each other. This is how oddly specific and cool. So there's a show that I watch a lot and I love, and I happen to wear the merch. And I went to a Texas show, and a lady and her kid, who that kid is now training because so many years have passed. He's freaking training, and he's debuted now, which is just mind boggling because I met him like 5 years ago. But he saw me at a show when he was just a fan, and I had that merch on. So it's like, oh my gosh, you like that show? I like that show too. So then we started talking, and somehow or another, they caught wind of my favorite character and a quote that I like. He and his mom, they remembered that, and at one of the shows, they had gone to a convention, met the voice actor, got him to sign a picture of it, write the quote, and they gave it to me. I'm like, this is the coolest thing ever. Are you kidding me? I've got it hung up in my living room. Like, that's so cool. So yeah, no, Texas fans, they kind of own it.
Oh my god! Like what show?
From Hunter x Hunter. It's an anime that I used to
Huh.
really like. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And one of the characters, um, I always quoted him, and they thought that was funny. And she remembered it. And when she met that voice actor, she's like, "Hey, can you sign this?" There was a picture of the character, and she wrote his quote and had him sign it, and they gave it to me. I'm like, this is so cool. What? You kidding me? This is going up on the wall.
That's so wholesome. Okay, I can see why you would say that. Let's see. What's been your favorite part about your wrestling journey so far?
The connections, the people that I've met, because things have shifted as I've gotten older and just time has passed in wrestling. Um, the people like when I first got into it, it was this like headlong obsession with the end goal, which they tell you not to do, and it's true. Like you really shouldn't do it because um, I'm not saying this in a negative way. This is just what I've grown to really comprehend. Like you really absorb it. Um, I definitely skipped through some years, if that makes sense. Like there was a chunk of time where it was just like to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing, and like I want to get here, I want to get here, and I really didn't just sit and absorb, like absorb those long car rides with the guys. That was just freaking miserable, but it was the experience, and it's things that you talk about fondly, like in retrospect, like the shows, whether they be like the crappy shows or the really good shows, like everything just felt like a means to an end. But that's so silly because there are so many people that like exclusively love and enjoy indie wrestling and indie wrestlers, and they don't look at pro wrestling as like, oh, it's not on TV, it's not legit. They're just enjoying like the product as a whole, you know. And so like I've met so many people that are legitimately lifelong fans, and they don't care, that they would love, and they tell me like, oh my god, I hope you make it to WWE someday, I hope you, and that's sweet. But like they come to the shows no matter what, and they have for years, and like that's not something that's going to shift, you know. And like that's something that I wasn't like, I was really trying to steamroll past everything when there's so much really cool stuff that happens as you go. So I gotta say, my favorite part is the people, like the literal people, and that encompasses everything. I'm talking like the guys that I work with right now, that I may work with them every month for years, or this might be my last year working with them because who knows, maybe I'm going to move, maybe I do get signed, maybe who freaking knows. And it's just like really, like all of my best stories just in general come from, well, I was at a show and I was talking to so and so, or oh, I was on my way to the show. It's all freaking wrestling related, it just is. And just really, just really taking that in and like loving that, and not like not going into this weird obsession with like where I need to be. Give yourself the grace to like enjoy where you're at, and just have fun with like what you are able to do right now. And yeah, enjoy every second. And I know it's like a cliche thing that they say, but I mean, I got into it at 20 and I'm 29 right now. So almost a decade down, that's real. Like so much happened, but I still steamrolled past it. I want it to slow down now, like I want everything to last longer than it is lasting. And so that's just like a mind shift kind of thing that has changed. But yeah, that's definitely the best part. It's just all the people that I've met, the friends, the fans, like the new loved ones that I met all through wrestling. That's the best part.
Especially, with social media too, we're always consuming media of like people that are at places we want to be. And
Yes.
it makes it harder to, disconnect from the future.
I know. You're looking at the destination. That is what is just thrown in your face at all times. But like just where you're at is still good and fun and special.
Is there any moments in your career that made you go, I do belong in this business? Because I do know there's a lot of doubt because it is a long journey. So, but for you, is there any moments you can recall that you're like, I do belong here, I'm on the right path? Like, what moments made you feel that way?
There's definitely a couple. There's not like a single standout one. There's a handful. Is it okay if I just kind of, I guess, shift through some of them? Um, I would say meeting Lance Romance is one. His real name's Randy Blakely, but he works as Lance Romance. He started the IPC, the International Players Club, in the early 2000s, and amongst some of his first guys was AJ Styles and the like. And he's had, in more recent history, he's had Sammy Guevara, Austin Theory, Ricky Starks, all guys that have been signed. Like that was his previous generation, and he picked me up. And the story that, like the way that it happened is the most like just ridiculous cosmic timing. So get this. So he lives in Dallas. I was living in New Orleans still. I was so Buku Dao was supposed to have a match at Reality of Wrestling, but he already had a show in Georgia. So he told them, he's like, well, I can't make that. Would it be possible for Nate to do it? And so he had pitched that to Luke. And then Luke asked me, would that be cool? So I was like, yeah, of course. I would love to do that. So Luke pitches that to Reality Wrestling. They say, sure. So I go with Luke to Reality Wrestling. I wrestle Savage King, who he was just debuting his new character. He usually works as Abel, but he was debuting his new character, Savage King. And we had that match. And when we got done, he goes, kid, that was really fun. If if something comes up and like some company has a spot or something, I need an opponent. Can I ask you? Can I ask for you? And I said, well, sure. That was in like November of 2019, right? And so I was still living in New Orleans. I had moved to Texas in March of 2020. So a few months later, fast forward to August of that year. Remember, COVID ran wild, so there wasn't really anything happening. A startup company called Loco, which was running out of the Premier Arena, which the Premier Arena nowadays is outrageously oversaturated. Every single company and their mother runs out of there. But at the time, it was fresh and hot. No one was really doing that. So Loco was starting up, and they wanted to use some established guys in Texas. Savage King was the one they did. And he, sure enough, he freaking reached out and said, hey, kid, I want to call in on that thing I asked you about way back. And I'm like, well, sure, I'll do it. And so I worked him in August, and the guys at Loco liked me a lot, so they asked me to come back. And when I came back, I had that same show. Gino Medina was on it, and Gino was a member of the IPC at the time, and he had talked Randy into coming from Dallas to Houston for that. And when Randy came down, he saw me there and grabbed me and was like, I like you. I want to do business with you. And then he pulled me to his show, which he hadn't run a show in a few years. He pulled me into his show when he was like rebranding and getting a new IPC because all his previous guys had gotten signed or they're just gone or whatever, And so he did his new show, and I worked in a triple threat with Chris Cruz and Will Austin, and that was supposed to be like the three new IPC members, like the new generation, right? Um, but I didn't get put in the IPC that night because of a really weird turn of events where he was supposed to have Gino Medina defend his belt against Action Jackson, I believe, but Action Jackson just totally no-showed. And so they said, screw it. You're going up in the triple threat and you're fighting Gino right after in the championship. And that was it. And like, boom, thrown into the fire. And then I was just joined at the hip with Randy from then on. And I've gone to Vegas, the Colorful Alley Club, because of that. My bond with Luke has gotten better with that because Luke used to work for Randy back in like the 2000s, like the 2010s. And like, they've got that connection. So then it became like this weird three-way connection of his mentor is now my mentor and like my mentor's mentor. And like, it just became this big. And so that was one of those like what are the odds that such an oddly specific ridiculous story of like I met one guy from this one off and then 5 months later I happened to meet him and then he happened to come to it's just like such a that was one of those things that was like I think I was actually like meant to, like really meant to do this because just that if it had happened any other way it would not have happened at all. And it was the fact that it did happen like that, and then just out of everyone that I've met, and I've got accolades now. I work a lot for Texas All-Star Wrestling, and that is the longest running company in Texas. They were founded in 1994. I am now their longest reigning heavyweight champion in their history since their company was founded. That's huge. That's literal history made with them, and like I've got a Triple Crown championship through them. And it's just like all of these things. Yeah, there's definitely some moments that it was like, I think I was really meant to do this. So those are some of like the standout ones for me, for sure.
Wrestlers that you want to work with.
Just like grand scale,
Grand scale.
everyone, I'm going to say Luke's going to hate this. AJ Styles, his nemesis, Chris Jericho. I gotta say Chris Jericho is probably like the guy that I think is the most accountable for my wrestling like love in general. He was just that guy that for some reason I vibed with him so much and thought he was so cool. He was like that, everyone's got that one character that they attach to. He was the one that I attached to that I tuned in every week for. So I think I have to attribute my actual getting involved with him. And then this one's kind of out there. Some people are gonna say, "Oh, of course." Others are gonna be like, "What? Really, Nate?" Will Ospreay, because he is so ridiculous and over the top athletic, and I I do that. I do all of that. Like, regardless of how you feel about him, he has buzz around his name, and people, no one thinks he can't freaking go. And I get compared to an extent, to him. So I would love to just throw down and just have that mirrored, very ridiculous high level athleticism, nonstop cardio, and just to see what it's like, where I'm the one that is, I don't know what's the proper way of saying this, but like I would have to give 110% to keep up. I would love to see what that type of match looks like, where I'm throwing everything in the kitchen sink to keep up with someone, because that is an unfamiliar concept. And I don't mean that as like a boast. It just, coming from like a gymnastic background, I have just a natural athleticism and high level cardio that you combine with the wrestling. But like, to see someone has it like way more amplified, it's like, whoa, what would that be like?
Wrestlers on the indie scene that you love working with.
First, easy, Chris Cruz, one of my best friends. We've tagged a bunch of times. We've worked against each other a bunch of times. He's the man, and we have some of the highest level chemistry I've ever felt ever. Like, sometimes you meet someone for a match, and you could have worked a bunch of times and had really good chemistry, but you kind of sit and organize, and we want to do this, we do that. With Chris and I swear it's like, you want to do this? Yeah. You want to do this? Yeah. Want to do this? Yeah. What about the rest? Yeah. Whatever. And then we go out, and it's like insane, like so ridiculous, because we're on such the same wavelength that it's almost like you're kind of like wrestling yourself. It's like, I know he knows what I'm about to do, and he knows I know what he's doing, just based on just whatever, like a look or like a touch. You've just got like such an outrageous mesh right away. And so I've probably got the most comically synchronized chemistry with Chris Cruz. So he's definitely like, he's one of my guys. Someone else is Zarek Camacho, and Zarek's the man. I mean, he Puerto Rican dude, and he's in and out of the country working and stuff. He's working his butt off. He is awesome. He's got quite a few family members that work out here in Texas, but I'm gonna put him over as the standout member. He's just outrageous, and he's one of the guys that elevated me in Texas, because when they were kind of doing like a feeler for like Texas All Star, when I wasn't really viewed as like a main event guy yet. Zarek was the Texas All Star Wrestling Heavyweight Champion, and he just, he has that credibility. Like, he was kind of like a little beefier and just tougher, and he had a little bit more rugged style. And I kind of got thrown in against him as like a whatever. And when I went out there, and we really, really, really tore it up, and it left this weird image of like, Nate looked like a main eventer just now. And that's the fact that stuck. And then they threw me against him again, and it was the same feeling. And it was one of those things where it was like the crowd, it felt like it was the time where the crowd finally, like, I was their guy. Like, I was their guy, their number one guy, not like one of their favorites on the show. Like, I was their dude. That was how they were reacting to me against him whenever we would work. And then eventually I did get the Texas All Star Wrestling Heavyweight Championship off of him. And we've never had anything other than like a phenomenal match. So I'm going to credit him as the guy that elevated me to a main eventer. So he's one of the ones I would put up as another favorite. Thanks to, right out the gate, Luke Hawks, for Wildkat Sports and everything that you've built and done. Thanks for letting me come through and be one of your students and learn. And thanks for still to this day, believing in me and the rest of the guys, and doing everything you can to get like those opportunities out there for all of us. I love that, and I appreciate that. And some of the guys, I know that a lot of them do love and appreciate that. And the ones that might not get it right now, they might get it later, and either way, it's the fact that like Luke, he is so selfless. He genuinely is. And he's working for everyone else just as much as he's working for him. And like, he doesn't need to do that, and he does. And that's really cool. Behind that rugged exterior, like, he is so kind. And then huge thanks to Lance Romance for, you know, seeing me as like a TV guy, because that's one of the first things that Lance said to me. He said, I don't work with anyone that I don't believe is almost or is TV ready. And to say that to me so out the gate, and just to do everything he's done for me, like getting me out to Vegas for the Cauliflower Alley Club, to have those experiences, having me as his champ on Smash Mouth, and having me in the IPC where all those phenomenal names that have come through, like thank you for that, you know. And then thank you to Janine Ortiz, my wife, for coming with me to all these shows, supporting me. She's done everything and anything to always put me over, as because she's been in the business too, you know, and for just putting me over as being like that guy, and always supported me and putting up with all the wrestling stuff. And like, that means so much to me. Literally could not do without her. So thanks to all of you.
My mic died, but I hope y'all enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for being here. If you're not subscribed yet, please subscribe. If you're not following my socials, my TikTok and Instagram are down below. And please go watch other interviews that I did. They'll be up here. And I hope you guys have a great day. Bye.